This is Pointe FM's Nightly News for Wednesday, 21st February 2018. The head of the Coordinating Committee on the CCJ Privy Council blames the opposition for stalling the process. CXC registers its concerns about absenteeism at examinations. Montserrat signs an MOU to create a digital payment ecosystem. And survivors of a Florida school shooting have marched to the state capitol to press lawmakers to take more action on gun control. Thank you for joining us this Wednesday evening. Those of you who are joining us by radio, those via Facebook Live, those via our app, and those of you tuning in via pointefmradio.com. I am Phil George. The head of the National Coordinating Committee on the Caribbean Court of Justice Privy Council Committee says efforts by the government to make the Caribbean Court of Justice the country's final court of appeal has stalled. In 2016, government embarked on a massive public education campaign that included consultations on why the Caribbean Court should be the preferred choice as opposed to the London-based Privy Council. But many were skeptical about government's approach, among them leader of the opposition United Progressive Party, the Honourable Baldwin Spencer, who highlighted the need for more public education. But despite an invitation to discuss the matter in depth with the Prime Minister, Dr. Clarence Henry says Mr. Spencer is yet to respond.
He extended an olive branch and said, look, if there are reasonable other items that the opposition is interested to have on the ballot, put it to him as Prime Minister and he will review and see to what extent there can be an agreement. To this day, there has been no response from the Honourable Baldwin Spencer. He continued over the months following that engagement at the PM's office to indicate, well, the party is looking at it. There's so much months can pass. So the matter has been put to bed for the time being.
Dr. Henry noted that it makes no sense spending large sums of money on public education campaigns on advancing a cause when there isn't full participation. He describes it as unfortunate.
The matter of the CCJ Privy Council, but more importantly for Antiguans and Barbudans to make a decision with respect to this particular matter, it's unfortunate that we did not continue to the end and to allow the people to make their choice. But who knows, in the near future, following the general elections, it may come back on the agenda, but it's subject to whoever wins at the next poll to determine that.
That's Ambassador Dr. Clarence Henry. The number of candidates who were absent for the January sitting of the Caribbean Secondary Education Certificate CSEC is now a cause for concern, according to Dr. Marcia Potter, the Deputy Chair of the Caribbean Examinations Council CXC. Dr. Potter, also the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education and Culture in the British Virgin Islands, was speaking as she chaired the 70th meeting of the Final Awards Committee of CXC on Friday, 16th February. During the meeting, it was revealed that in a number of subjects, many candidates did not show up for their examinations, which were paid for by either the candidates or their governments. CXC says absenteeism has always been an issue in the January sitting. However, this year it was significantly higher in some subjects. Office administration, absenteeism was at 41%, English B at 37%, Principles of Accounts 31%, Information Technology 30%, and absenteeism in Social Studies 28%. Potter says absenteeism is cause for concern, adding that taxpayers' money is being used to pay for examination fees and candidates are not showing up to write the examinations. In noting the issue, CXC's registrar, Glenroy Cumberbatch, said the organization is responding to help candidates better prepare for the January sitting. The registrar said CXC plans to provide more detailed feedback to candidates on their performance so that they know exactly their areas of strengths and weaknesses. In addition, he said the CXC Learning Hub will provide additional resources to candidates to aid their examinations preparation. The Learning Hub is expected to be ready by the end of September 2018. The overall performance, according to CXC, in the January sitting was mixed, with some subjects in the natural science cognate cluster seeing marked improvements, while there were declining performances on other subjects. Performance in biology saw the most significant improvement, with 71% of entries achieving acceptable grades. That's between grades 1 to 3. The improvement was as a result of better performance on all three profiles: knowledge and comprehension, use of knowledge, and experimental skills. There was a 26% improvement in performance on human and social biology. Some 70% of entries achieved grades 1 to 3. For chemistry, 47% of entries achieved acceptable grades this year, while for physics, performance level remained the same over the 2-year period at 65%. Improved performance on all three profiles for information technology resulted in an overall improvement. This year, 72% of entries achieved acceptable grades. Performance in the theory profile moved from 76 to 85%. Productivity tools from 63 to 73%, and problem solving and programming from 50 to 58%. Performance in English A remained the same as in 2017, with 56% of entries achieving the acceptable grades, while for English B, 27% of entries achieved acceptable grades this year. The Subject Awards Committee reported that in several cases, candidates scored 0 on a number of questions on Paper 2. Some candidates wrote no answers, and others simply wrote back the question. Mathematics continued its downward trend that started 3 years ago. This year, 30% of entries achieved acceptable grades. Antigua and Barbuda's tourism is off to a surging start so far for 2018, and that's according to new data from the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority. Stay-over visitor arrivals to the destination are up by 9% for the first month of 2018, with an increase to 27,895 in January. The United States, according to the Tourism Authority, continues to be the biggest feeder market for Antigua and Barbuda, showing 3.5% growth. But it was Canada that paced the growth with a 77% increase in visitors, driven in part by the launch of new Sunwing service. Tourism Minister Charles Fernandez said in 2017, the Antigua and Barbuda Tourism Authority, alongside stakeholders, worked hard to maintain stay-over visitor arrivals in main source markets. He said constant review of trends in overseas markets and strategic market planning sessions with stakeholders in Antigua led to the development and execution of in-market activities specifically designed to address concerns of visitors' declines and produce the positive results they are noticing as the 2017-2018 winter season unfolds. Prime Minister Gaston Brown is proposing that the Antigua State College be removed from under the control of the public service in order to give the institution more independence. He made the recommendation on Tuesday while fielding questions from students and faculty at the Antigua State College.
I want to recommend that we corporatize the Antigua State College. Yes. And I say corporatize in opposed to privatize. Meaning that it will be owned by the public, or let's say the government of Antigua and Barbuda jointly with the University of the West Indies, but it will operate as a separate corporate entity, distinct from the rest of the public service, and we will have pay scales befitting of the skills, experience, the qualifications of the faculty.
Prime Minister Brown's pronouncement followed a concern expressed by a faculty member that despite the efforts being made to advance the Antigua State College to university level, educators there were still part of the general teaching service as opposed to their regional counterparts, whose salaries also reflect differently to those of primary and secondary school teachers. The head of government has revealed that the idea of removing the state college from under the public service was discussed at Cabinet.
Your principal has actually approached the Cabinet on this issue. And we have agreed in principle that we will separate the State College from the rest of the public service.
That's Prime Minister the Honorable Gaston Brown speaking at Antigua State College on Tuesday. It is not clear when the process will begin. A post-mortem examination conducted on the body of Wilbert Paul has determined the 66-year-old man died of a heart attack. The autopsy was conducted earlier this month, according to reports. Paul was found dead in his cell at Her Majesty's Prison in late December 2017. He had reportedly complained of feeling unwell. Reports are Paul was known to have had a heart condition. His death prompted an investigation. At the time of his passing, Wilbert Paul was serving a 14-year sentence for attempting to murder his ex-wife in 2007. Following a trial, he was sentenced to prison in 2011. Following his passing, Prison Superintendent Albert Wade criticized sections of the media for reporting information that was being given by inmates. He described it then as illegal and not credible. Antigua Public Utilities Authority is advising its subscribers to ignore pop-up messages being sent to their mobile phones stating that recipients have won an iPhone X. That's an iPhone 10. In a statement, APUA said the pop-up messages have been circulating stating, "Today is your lucky day. You are one of the 10 randomly selected users who will receive the gift, Apple iPhone 10. APUA says the information is untrue. The message also states that winners are selected by their IP addresses and must complete a short and anonymous survey. APUA Telecommunications Business Unit says it does not know what entity the information has originated from. However, in the interest of internet safety, the authority is strongly urging recipients to not interact with the messages. That's a look at the national developments this evening. Stay tuned. More news ahead from across the region and internationally.
Want to feel great? Nothing makes you feel better than the smell of a brand new car. Nothing makes you feel better than a brand new Suzuki from Hadid Motors Limited at 6% interest. 8 years to pay, no deposit, with payments as low as $650 from Caribbean Union Bank, Friesel Road. All you need is an invoice, job letter, proof of address, and 2 forms of ID, plus free insurance, free licensing, free registration, and free plates. You're going to love up to 5 years warranty. That means no worries, no breakdown, and no parts problems. Come to Hadid Motors today and test drive your new Suzuki. One is here just waiting for you. Get ready to feel really, really great. Hadid Motors and Caribbean Union Bank, putting you in a brand new Suzuki. Give us a call today at 481-2500. Terms and conditions apply.
So good, I got you.
Thank you so much for staying with us. The time is now 14 minutes on the hour of 7 o'clock evening time in Antigua and Barbuda and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. Turning now to news from across the region. In neighboring Montserrat's Premier, Donaldson Romeo, has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Barbados-based blockchain startup Bit to create a digital payments ecosystem. According to an announcement posted on Facebook, the agreement has an initial period of 3 years and provides a framework for Bit to collaborate with the government and other domestic stakeholders, such as the private sector, commercial banks, and the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. They will work towards developing a pilot program which includes a feasibility study to test the viability and functionality of digital Eastern Caribbean dollars in the financial ecosystem of Montserrat. The feasibility study in the pilot program will also facilitate proof of concept experimentation and will use a phased approach within controlled environments to deploy, test, and assess the effectiveness of suggested implementations. Romeo, who is also Finance Minister of Montserrat, says the decision to move closer to a cashless society is in keeping with the overall development strategy and also that of the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. Once implemented, the digital payments ecosystem will include a number of free services, according to the announcement. BIT's M-Money mobile wallet users would be able to send money to loved ones locally or within the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, as well as make payments for goods and services for free. In addition, consumers would be able to add funds to their M-Money wallet at any time at any of the digital wallet merchants for free and make local payments for free. 45 political candidates were nominated in Grenada on Tuesday, nomination day, to contest the March 13 general election. The majority of the candidates will represent the ruling New National Party and the main opposition National Democratic Congress. The other candidates are from 5 minority parties and there are 4 independent candidates. During Tuesday's exercise, the NNP and NDC each nominated 15 candidates. From the minority parties, 2 were nominated to represent the Grenada Empowerment Movement, 3 candidates will represent the Progressive Party, 4 were nominated to represent the Grenada Reconnaissance Party, 1 candidate will represent the Liberal Party, and 1 will represent the Grenada Progressive Movement. The independent candidates are Jocelyn Whiteman, a former member of the NNP, Junior Francis, who will contest the poll in St. David's constituency, Oswald Peter, who will go up against NNP leader and Prime Minister Dr. Keith Mitchell in the constituency of St. George's Northwest, and John Fletcher, who will face the electorate in St. Andrew Southwest. However, other political parties were unable to field candidates. Tuesday's nomination day exercise marks the first time since the 1984 general election that the minority Good Old Democracy will not be contesting the poll, as the sole candidate was unable to gather the 6 registered voters required to sign his nomination form. In the lead up to the general election, 18 political parties along with independent candidates attended awareness sessions with the Parliamentary Elections Office. In the 2013 general election, the NNP won all 15 seats, defeating the National Democratic Congress government of then Prime Minister Tillman Thomas. This will be the second time that the general election will be held on March 13. Jamaica's Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is promising that the long-awaited pension scheme for tourism workers is to come on stream in June. Speaking on Monday, Bartlett said the final touches were being put in place for the launch of the scheme by mid-year. He said the Tourism Ministry has been sensitizing workers in the sector over the last 2 years about the relevance and importance of the initiative. Bartlett had previously indicated that the pension fund would attract the same kind of fiscal arrangement as other established pension funds and that contributions would be tax-free. He said the Tourism Enhancement Fund Act would be amended to allow for the injection of $1 billion into the pension fund. The need for the creation of a pension scheme came amid concerns that tourism workers in Jamaica did not have access to a social safety net after retirement. The scheme that was first proposed some 4 years ago is to benefit all categories of tourism workers, including red cap porters, craft vendors, ground transportation operators, and hotel workers. In developments now on the international scene, survivors of a Florida school shooting that left 17 people dead have marched to the state capitol to press lawmakers to take more action on gun control. One student said she was disappointed in meetings with lawmakers who danced around their questions on gun control. It is the first organized protest of the youth-led anti-gun movement that has swept the United States since the attack. Thousands of Florida students walked out of their classrooms in solidarity with survivors on Wednesday morning. Students arrived on Tuesday as the state legislature rejected a ban on assault rifles like the one used in the attack. They split into several groups to discuss how to prevent gun violence and mental health issues with lawmakers. When pressed on gun control, State Senate President Joe Negron said that's an issue that they're reviewing. The National Rifle Association, a powerful gun rights lobby group, announced it would participate in a town hall that will be broadcast on CNN this evening, according to the network. Pakistan's Supreme Court has disqualified former Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif as head of his party. Mr. Sharif was ordered to step down as Prime Minister last year amid corruption allegations that he denies. The court ruled that his earlier dismissal from office made him ineligible to lead the PMLN. All decisions taken by Mr. Sharif while head of the party were declared void, including nominations for candidates in Senate elections due in a fortnight. The Election Commission is directed to remove the name of Nawaz Sharif as president of PMLN from all official records, the Chief Justice Saqib Nisar said. As a result, all steps taken, all orders passed by Nawaz Sharif are also declared to be as if they had never been taken. The ruling is being seen as a blow to Mr. Sharif, who has consistently claimed he is the victim of a political conspiracy. He is currently on trial in an anti-corruption court following an inquiry into his family finances. A verdict is due next month. U.S. evangelist Billy Graham, one of the most influential preachers of the 20th century, has died at the age of 99. He died at his home in Montreat, North Carolina, a spokesman for the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association said. In a 60-year career, he is estimated to have preached to hundreds of millions of people around the world.
There are thousands of you that God has been speaking to.
For more than half a century, Billy Graham brought the Word of God to millions.
Return to your faith in God. Christ is going to come back and set up His kingdom.
His influence reached every corner of the globe and all the way to the White House. A long way from the North Carolina dairy farm where he grew up during the Great Depression. Graham found his calling at age 16 when a traveling preacher came to town.
I went back night after night, and one night I began to realize that there was an emptiness in my life.
The Lord Jesus Christ.
Soon he was filling revival tents and expanding into radio and television. His message was for everyone, regardless of race. Years before it was the law, he insisted that his audiences not be segregated.
I don't know what your religious background or racial background or cultural background, it makes no difference.
Graham first went to the White House in 1950 for an audience with President Truman. It did not go well, but he hit it off with President Eisenhower and came to be known as the unofficial White House chaplain. He befriended and vouched for JFK, helping him overcome anti-Catholic prejudice. He stuck with Johnson through Vietnam and Nixon through Watergate, and offered his prayers and counsel to every commander-in-chief through the rest of the 20th century and into the 21st.
Presidents need comfort that faith gives. And Billy Graham was a great dispenser of comfort for me and for Barbara and for our family.
And he just talked to me, never at me, never in a condemnatory way. It was amazing.
President George W. Bush even credited Graham with helping him to quit drinking and turn his life around.
God loves you.
All the while, Graham continued to preach with crusades across America and around the world.
That report from ABC News. That's a look at regional and international developments this Wednesday evening. Stay tuned. The weather report is next.
Here is the weather forecast for Antigua and Barbuda and its coastal waters out to 10 nautical miles, valid until 8 p.m. tomorrow, Thursday, 22nd February 2018. Fresh to strong breeze will continue to persist across the area for the next 24 hours. This wind flow, coupled with a weak frontal system, is likely to generate unstable weather conditions over and around the islands, resulting in cloudy spells and showers at times. Skies tonight are expected to be partly cloudy to cloudy with occasional brief showers, and tomorrow, partly sunny skies with a 60% or moderate chance of occasional brief showers. The winds will be east-northeasterly, ranging between 26 to 37 kilometers per hour or 14 to 20 knots, with higher gusts, especially during showers and over open waters. Sea conditions remain rough, with wave heights reaching 2.4 to 3.7 meters or 8 to 12 feet. Warnings remain in place for small craft operators, and sea bathers should continue to exercise caution. As of 5 o'clock this afternoon, the total rainfall for the month of February recorded at the airport is 24.7 millimeters or 0.97 inch. The maximum temperature recorded today was 31 degrees Celsius or 88 degrees Fahrenheit. In the forecast, the minimum temperature for tonight is 22 degrees Celsius or 72 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, the sun will rise at 6:29 a.m. and set at 6:12 p.m. I am Letitia Humphreys from the Antigua Barbuda Meteorological Services at the V.C. Bird International Airport.
The weather report brings us to the end of Point FM's nightly news for Wednesday, the 21st day of February 2018. Just before we go, a recap of the headlines that made the news. The head of the Coordinating Committee on the CCJ Privy Council blames the leader of the opposition United Progressive Party for stalling the process. CXC registers its concerns about absenteeism at examinations. Within the region, Montserrat signs an MOU to create a digital payment ecosystem. And survivors of a Florida school shooting have marched to the state capitol to press lawmakers to take more action on gun control. Thank you so much for joining us, all of you, on this edition of our newscast. On behalf of all of us here at Point FM Radio, I am Phil George, wishing you a pleasant evening. Goodbye.